All right, good Wednesday morning, everyone. 48 First Alert Meteorologist Eric Burke with you. Welcome once again to a Weather Extra on this warm and very muggy Wednesday morning. And it's going to be like this for the next several days. Some pretty substantial changes coming as we go into the weekend, and we're going to talk a lot more about that, obviously, but potential for an impactful severe weather event for our neighbors off to the west and northwest of us. We've got a lot to talk about, but we're going to keep it at about 15 minutes tops here for this Weather Extra. So getting right to it, that's what it looks like right now out in beautiful Muscle Shoals, looking at Wilson Lake, Wilson Dam. Anyone that wants to get out on the area waterways, probably a pretty choppy day, and not necessarily talking about a surf forecast, but as far as your boating forecast, could be a little rough out there on the water, just with those winds picking up. And if you look closely at that camera there in the shoals, you could actually see how fast those clouds are moving from the right-hand side of the screen to the left-hand side of your screen. So a lot of wind out there today. Wind advisory started officially this morning at 10 a.m. and that will go all the way through 1 o'clock on Thursday morning. If you've been outside at all, hair's kind of blowing around, just one of those days with a lot of those general gradient winds that we have across the area. Here's a look from Saturn V U.S. Space and Rocket Center. I don't know if you caught the story, but a cool exhibit just opened up at the Space and Rocket Center right here in Huntsville. Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis is featured, but it's from the Barron Critical Weather Institute, our folks right down the road here in Huntsville. Great to have them. We use a lot of their technology when we're tracking severe storms. Haven't seen it in person yet, but do plan on stopping by to check out that exhibit. I believe it's How We Tell the Weather, and that's the name of it too. So there's a look in Huntsville. Let's go to the radar, and we mentioned the potential for some very isolated rain showers. I think this is mainly going to pertain to areas along and west of Interstate 65, so kind of northwest Alabama. A little bit of that blue that you see on the radar showing up. That's just kind of some ground clutter. A lot of pollen in the air too. Maybe not picking up on the pollen, but just kind of some dirt and debris flying around too. And that happens this time of year when you're just looking at the radar. We could see insects, we could see birds migrating, we get the roost rings coming out of that cave in Scottsboro. Still need to see that myself in person, but there into parts of Marion and Winston County, and maybe a little bit of light rainfall just tracking in from the south. This is the severe weather threat, though. This is what we've got to talk about, and this mainly pertains to our neighbors. This isn't necessarily a severe weather day for us per se, but this could be an impactful day of weather, potential for severe weather outbreak, even a tornado outbreak, and this is a rare 5 out of 5 high risk issued by the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. If we take just a slightly closer view, so this is for a good portion of Arkansas into the boot heel of Missouri. You've got parts of far southern Illinois, western Kentucky, Paducah, for example, and far west Tennessee. And we had a high risk event on March 15th. All those tornadoes moving through Birmingham. That high risk just extended into parts of our viewing area. We had some severe weather of our own. One tornado confirmed with that event, and then the rest of the area was in that moderate. So that pink color, that is the high risk from the Storm Prediction Center. You've got the moderate risk in kind of that reddish tinge, that reddish pink and kind of a salmon color, and then that brownish color, that's going to be your enhanced risk. And notice how that enhanced risk does just clip the extreme northwest part of our viewing area. So for example, if you're in Waterloo there, far western Lauderdale County, maybe parts of Colbert County and some of the middle Tennessee counties, you are just in that narrow enhanced risk, but this is for that conditional threat of storms, and we're going to talk more about that, of course, coming up here in a few seconds. Now, this is going to be for tomorrow. That slight risk displaced a little bit farther off to our west and northwest, and then even more so as we go into the day on Friday. And that's good news. We've got Trash Panda home opener Friday evening. Should be a warm and breezy evening for some baseball, feeling more like a July night, the Friday night, than it is going to be in early April evening. But here is the setup that we have, and there's basically a cold front. That's why on the cold side, we're wrapping around that center of low pressure where you have the cold air. We were talking about the snow showers yesterday. Well, there's a lot more snow up there, As you go into North Dakota, South Dakota, I mentioned my Rapid City connection yesterday, and then also up into parts of central and northern Minnesota. You've got Wisconsin there, and then that threat for heavy rainfall and storms continues all the way up into Michigan and the Great Lakes there. But this cold front is basically going to stall, and that's because we have a ridge of high pressure building in over the southeast U.S., and what that's going to do is almost kind of put us in a bubble here and keep those storms to our west. That's why we have that conditional threat of severe storms. But if you look very closely at your screen there, you can see some of those red boxes, and yes, those are tornado watches. Later on, as we get into the more unstable part of the day, late afternoon, early evening, for those areas in the moderate and the high risk, I wouldn't be shocked if the Storm Prediction Center put out a PDS, or particularly dangerous situation tornado watch. That will be kind of a wait and see, and we'll see how this develops. I showed you our current radar. Couple sprinkles there, Marion, Winston County, and we'll keep that threat for a few isolated showers, just areas along and west of I-65. Most of us end up staying dry through the entire day today, but we have to mention the chance of just a couple of showers. Let's talk about that conditional threat with that stalled boundary, and this is what we've got. This is the area we've been highlighting. I've been talking about this since Monday. Jeff and Chelsea were talking about this over the weekend, but as that boundary stalls, it's not just a threat for severe weather with the moderate high risk today. This is going to be a long duration potential flooding event, with some of the models putting out 10 to 15 inches of rainfall for those same areas over the next 72 hours. If you watch the news this morning, yesterday joined us for Weather Extra. We've been talking a lot about this conditional threat, and I just want to clarify, this isn't a we don't know what's going to happen. We get these conditional threats typically during the summer months. Sometimes you see it in the spring season, and this is a prime example of that. When you have that stalled front, we need something to trigger or initiate those storms. Sometimes it could just be as simple as daytime heating. You get those warm air bubbles rising, and then the storms start to pop up. That's what we see during the summer months. Well, usually during the spring, it takes a bit more of a spark or some kind of a fuse, a trigger, if you want to call it that. We've got all the ingredients for severe weather today. If you've been outside, you could feel the humidity. Feels pretty gross. We've got the south wind. We've got a lot of wind in the upper levels too. So everything is there for severe weather. We're just lacking that trigger or that spark to initiate those storms. Well, later this evening, there is some models that are at least hinting into maybe northeast Mississippi, far northwest Alabama, that we actually do see a storm or two firing up. And if that happens, those storms can be strong to severe. And this would be late tonight, overnight into early tomorrow morning. The model I was showing you this morning, we showed it. Now the new model run of that same model does not show that initiation for northwest Alabama. So again, it's not a we don't know. It's more of a we'll have to wait and see what's going on with the atmosphere as we go through the later part of the day today into the evening and overnight. All right, temperatures here. Look at the mid to upper 70s. It was so warm this morning. Yesterday morning, we're waking up to upper 30s, low 40s. This morning, we had upper 60s to low 70s. Now, the cloud cover that we have overhead, that's going to slow the warming a bit, but if we see any clearing, I think we are well on our way to potentially seeing some high temperature records being tied or broken here today across North Alabama and Middle Tennessee. Excuse me. Here's your wind advisory. Started at 10, goes through 1 tomorrow morning. This is for all North Alabama, Middle Tennessee counties. A sustained wind right now, 15 to 25 miles per hour. Some of those general gradient wind gusts could be 30 to 40 miles per hour. So that means keep an eye on your garbage can, your recycle bin, some of the patio furniture you may have, some of the decorations you have up for Easter or spring around your house. Have finally swapped out the St. Patrick's Day decorations for the Easter decorations just last weekend. And it also use caution when driving. People on motorcycles, for example, very lightweight, blows around. I used to ride bikes myself, had a Harley when I lived in Rapid City and no longer ride, but watch out for those motorcyclists because it's warm. They want to be on their bikes, but can be difficult on a windy day. Lightweight vehicles and high-profile vehicles, those semi-trucks, sometimes you get those crosswinds and you could see them blowing around a little bit. So that's certainly something to watch here with that wind advisory. But just looking at some model data here, these are wind gusts through the rest of the morning, afternoon, gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour. This has been probably the most common complaint and I'm complaining about it too. That's the pollen count, the tree pollen in the extreme category. We should have a miserable category. Well, that's where it's at. A lot of vehicles you see in the parking lot, you're like, that's not a green car, but it looks green, and it's just all that pollen. A lot of that is tree pollen, oak, elm, juniper, and we're starting to get more grass pollen coming in too. Forecast high for today, 85. The record is 86 for Huntsville International, set back in 1963. Then we're forecasting 86 tomorrow, 87 on Friday. We'll have another mid-80 day with a lot of humidity, and that will be Saturday before we start talking about some of those changes coming in. But there's the rest of the day. I think we start to see more breaks in the clouds the later we go into the afternoon, and that could be that, kind of added push to get us into record-tying or record-breaking territory. 12:30. Here's future radar and satellite. There you go. Temperatures warming up, continuing to warm up here. And then we just continue through the afternoon, some passing clouds, the gusty winds. And we'll be watching all that severe weather developing and unfolding to our west and northwest. But look, at 9 o'clock, we're in the mid to upper 70s, still very humid. Would be a nice night to be outside if you don't mind some gusty winds. So if you do a bonfire, have to keep an eye on that fire. And then we get into 3:30. So now this is very early Thursday morning. I'll be in at work keeping an eye on this for you. But notice how the new model data just kind of keeps it just outside of our area of northwest Alabama. Maybe a few showers, some thunder. If that does move farther east, we very well could see storms capable of producing damaging wind, as some large hail, maybe even a tornado threat. This is that conditional threat. It's not we don't know, it's we're just watching, but we do have the ingredients in play. And then you go into Thursday, tomorrow maybe an isolated shower or two. I think we'll see a little bit more sunshine. So here's kind of a broader look at the rest of the day today, showing you all that activity that's off to the north and west of us, where that severe weather threat will be developing over the next few hours, and then almost inching in to that extreme northwest Alabama, northeast Mississippi, some parts of west Tennessee there, watching for that severe weather threat. And then we go into noon tomorrow, still tracking the heavy rain, severe weather potential for areas to our west and northwest. I think we see a stray shower or a storm popping up. Should still be in the mid-80s. And then into Friday morning, kind of nudging into that same area. It all depends on where that boundary sets up. But Friday through the day, very warm, very humid. We'll call it breezy, and that's what it looks like as we go into Friday afternoon. Should be a great night for Trash Panda baseball if those storms stay to the west. And then as we go into Saturday, this is where I think we start to see a better chance for rain and storms developing coming in from the west. I talked about not only the severe weather threat, but now we go into that potential threat for heavy rain and flooding. This could be a generational flooding event. This model has been pretty consistent, anywhere from half a foot to a foot of rain for a lot of locations there you see in the purple, but a very sharp cutoff. This is going to go all the way through the weekend, so factoring in that weekend cold front Saturday into Sunday. Perfect timing for this graphic. 86 on Saturday, warm, humid, breezy. Then we see that cold front actually finally coming through, and that will trigger some showers and storms. We're watching for the potential of strong to maybe severe storms coming in late Saturday night into Sunday. Sunday, I don't think is a total washout. It will be a cooler day, kind of damp too, but periods of rain showers and storms. And then you really feel that colder air coming in by Monday, starting off next work and school week. There's a look at your cloud cover. As we go through the past couple of hours there. Some breaks in the clouds, but a lot of you are mostly cloudy, if not even overcast. Temperatures overnight, some of you waking up in the 70s again. That wind will stick around. Watching out for northwest Alabama again for that potential rogue, strong to severe storm. The day tomorrow, similar to today, but I think we'll see a few more breaks in the clouds, warming up into those middle 80s. And last but not least, let's just show you how it all breaks down, in particular those changes that are coming as we go Saturday into Sunday with the cold front, high of just 59 on Monday. Looks like our low temperatures will be close to the frost point there. It depends on how long we're at 36 or colder. We're forecasting 37. That's just for metro areas, though. We get into Tuesday, high of 62, and then 60s and 70s for the rest of your 10-day forecast. So I know that's a lot to throw at you, a lot to cover, but that's kind of your weather extra for your Wednesday. Again, I'll be tracking those storms to our west, developing over the next couple of hours during Tennessee Valley Living with Peyton Walker. And be sure to join us for the latest on our newscast at noon with Gina Benitez. But if not, hope you have a great Wednesday. Take your allergy medicine. Don't blow away out there with the gusty winds. And we'll continue to keep you updated, of course, on any changes to that conditional threat of severe weather developing late tonight into early tomorrow morning for you folks in Northwest Alabama. So thank you for your time. As always, I'm First Alert Meteorologist Eric Burke. Have a great day, everyone.